Good morning, friends. The next part of our novel, The Power and the Glory, that is the biblical motif, the motifs in the novel. What are the motifs in the novel? There are two to three motifs in the novel we found. In the previous lecture, we learned about the structural devices in the novel. Now we are going to learn about the motifs in the novel. The first is one of the biblical motif. That is the priest's journey through Mexico in his Via Crucis, way of the cross. And the novel is filled with comparisons between the priest and the and Christ. The protagonist's salvation is worked out upon a true cross, which ironically necessitates his staying away from Veracruz. The priest's mission is carried on in hidden barns resembling Christ's furtive staple, which quickly became a target for Herod and his pursuers. His visit to Maria resembles Christ's sojourn at the home of Mary and Martha in Bethel. In prison, the priest is treated like Christ on Holy Thursday night, and he is forced to empty the excitement, pails of excrement, a parallel to Christ washing the feet of his apostles at the Last Supper. In prison, too, he is compared to and contrasted with the good thief who repented on Good Friday. When the priest ascends to the mountain plateau with the Indian woman, he sees only crooked crosses illuminated by a low hanging star of Bethlehem. Falling short of salvation, he feels that he is crowned with thorns as his sharp hat rim presses into his head. However, when he rides astride a donkey toward Calvary, the priest for a moment feels at one with God. The snippet of his song, I Found a Rose in My Field, indicates the rectitude of his choice not to remain in a relatively safe province. Other biblical personages serve as well to define the protagonist and the principles of the novel. Fellow, fellows in Pilate, like in his willingness to relinquish the priest to the state, as is Padre Jose. Coral Fellows is crucified by coming into purgatory. She wearily leans against the hard wall of the banana station. Young John's story is a parody of the gospel according to Saint John. The priest, unable to enter the village of his birth, is like Moses shut out from the promised land. He baptized a boy as Brigitta instead of Pedro, just as he bungled his role in Peter's church. That is, the Roman Catholic Church, the mestizo is a Judas figure, and Calver becomes the bad thief, more concerned with escape, albeit the priest, than with salvation. His name, of course, suggests Calvary. In his use of these religious symbols, Green is a modernist, one who employs a universally recognizable structure of myth to define contemporary individuals. While he may not accept the validity of every aspect of the theological system, he uses scripture, as do James Joyce and T.S. Eliot, for all it is worth. Padre Joe's moral cowardice, for example, becomes clearer when matched against the courage of Saint Joseph, the patron saint of the happy family. This is about the biblical motive in the novel. Next part is about animal imagery. On three occasions, Green describes the priest's plight in terms of a bull who is about to be killed in an arena, and allusions to animals of all types abound on the pages of the novel. Without God, Green implies man is reduced to the state of the lower creatures. Lizards flap their wings as if to toll the death knell of Mexico's police state, all the time staring on with moron faces. Dogs figure prominently in the novel, and during a crucial chapter, the priest battles a starving mongrel for the last bit of racial rancid meat and on a discarded bone. The priest is chased through the streets of the capital city like a rat through a maze by the red shirts, and the mestizo is compared to a bloodhound as he relentlessly stalks the clergyman. The mestizo sits in his jail cell, calling for beers as flies buzz around his vomit, and in jail, the priest discovers that the hostage Miguel has been bitten like an animal. Flies are buzzing around his wounded eye. The lieutenant tries to kill the numerous black insects that scurry across his book, but his gesture is as futile as his attempts to prevent future priests from coming into his state. Humanity at its most abject level is seen in the hungry clergyman's treatment of the monocrale. The dog becomes an altar boy, as the priest, using a bit of Latin from the Mass service, deceives the animal into relinquishing its hold on the bone. Ironically, Green's theme in all of this is that man is saved only by recognizing and accepting his lower self. He ascends by first descending. The next is about the motive, the decay motive. Green pictures the death of Mexico under its godless government through vivid details of decay, physical sordidness, and sterility. The General Obregon looks as though it is ready to sink, and bursts of recent heroic generals are being covered quickly with mildew. As the nauseous and forgetful Tench walks towards the web, he spills bile into the street, becoming one of many people in the novel who express their disgust by spitting. The curfew is an artificial device to secure a moribund state against the rain and the heat, both moral and physical, which constantly threatens to engulf it. Crumbling of Mexico is seen in taxis that have no passengers, dynamos that run only, halting and sporadically grandmothers who rock back and forth silently, locked in the prison of their memories, and playground swings that stand like gallows next to a ruined cathedral. The novel is saturated with the green soul smell of a Mexican river. So, here we can understand the decay of biblical motif, the decay motif, and the animal imagery used in the Graham Greene's novel The Power and the Glory. In the next lecture, we learn about some observations and the theme in Power and the Glory.